Hey guys, Caleb Thornton here with the review of the recently released Roccat Burst Core, which is the more budget option of the Burst Pro, which I just recently reviewed on my channel too. And if you want to check that out, I have it in the description down below. But we'll also be mainly focusing on the Burst Core, but obviously we're going to be comparing it to the Burst Pro, just kind of helping you guys figure out which one's going to be best for you. You can find the Burst Core for just $30, so putting it in the same price point and in competition with the SteelSeries Rival 3 wired, and then also putting it, of course, half the price at $30 of the $60 that the Burst Pro will charge you. And out of the box, besides just getting your mouse and your cable, it's very simple. All you're gonna get included with that is just an instruction pamphlet. Starting off with the weight and build quality on the Core, it's exactly the same weight, 68 grams, which with the size and shape of this mouse, feels really nice in hand. And as far as textures and materials on it, exactly the same. Still that super solid build quality, no creaking or flexing in the side panels at all. You get this more smooth, textured plastic on the top, which again, like I mentioned in my Pro review, definitely, if you're someone that gets sweaty hands, it makes my hands get sweaty on the surface, which I don't usually. So if that's something that really bothers you, it might bother you, but it's something that you can get used to. It's not that big of a deal. It's just something I like to point out for you guys. Moving on to the side panels though, you get a harder, just plastic texture there. And then you have these little raised, like honeycomb sort of things, which give you a little extra grip. And for me, I find definitely to be adequate and feel nice. As far as just the looks on the outside, the biggest difference with it is just gonna be the fact that you don't get that RGB shine through on the back like you do on the Burst Pro, where you can see that honeycomb coming through that translucent top shell, but you still do get that same lighting zone on your scroll wheel. Sadly, with the Burst Core, you are not gonna get that nice braided cable that we saw with the Burst Pro. Again though, $30 for this thing, half the price. Obviously, they're gonna have to cut down costs somewhere, and one of the areas is just that cable. And rubber cables, you know, they're not horrible. They're definitely not nearly as nice as that. And $30 for this thing, you know, it's what you'd expect about with the Rival 3 wired being $30 too. Also coming with the rubber cable. It's not bad, and it's kind of funny, if you look at where the stress relief is at coming out of the mouse, they really angled it up, and of course that's just gonna be there to help you not getting any drag with the cable coming out of your mouse. And I went ahead and threw mine up in a bungee and it was completely fine. Shape-wise, it is exactly the same as the Burst Pro, and between these two mice, I've been testing it for about 2 weeks now, and I have to say, I absolutely love the shape. It is ambi as far as it shape-wise goes, but you don't get side buttons on both sides. You only get it on the left side of the mouse, so obviously kind of restricting it down to right-handed users only. I can pop into a really comfortable claw on this, but I can also get into a palm on it. Not the most comfortable, but if I needed to use it for productivity use, no issues there. It's definitely gonna be well suited for those of you that like palm to a claw style grip or something in between there, a hybrid, maybe like a relaxed claw. Feels great for this with that hump being towards the back as well as those little wider grips. Definitely a dream for a claw grip mouse. And I would say for $30 for the entry into this, I would definitely recommend picking it up if you wanna try the shape out. You get 6 programmable buttons on the Core, which is the same as the Burst Pro, of course, and these are using those same Titan optical switches, which give you up to 100 million click lifespan, so absolutely no worries about reaching that anytime soon. And I'll go ahead and throw you guys into a sound test now. Now, if you guys watched my review on the Burst Pro, my biggest complaint with that was definitely gonna be on those switches. And after reading some of your guys' comments as well as your experiences, letting me know that Roccat actually, it seems like they had some issues sending out some mushy clicks on their mice. And I believe that was totally what the issue is, because using the Burst Core, no issues. Like, the tactile response is there. It still is hard to actuate, but that's by design, of course, and something that you just get used to over time. And over the couple weeks of testing these mice, definitely already getting used to it. But as far as that like dead, nothing there, mushiness on my right click I had with the Burst Pro, definitely not present with this one. So I'm just gonna probably have to return my Pro model so I can see if I get a better version of that. But I think that was completely just with my copy and a quality control issue overall. As far as pre and post travel though, very minimal, not very much at all, nothing that would bother you guys, nothing that bothers me. Moving on to the side buttons though, definitely gotta be one of my favorite parts of this mouse. You get those nice, bigger, chunkier side buttons, and also like basically no pre or post travel, which is just super impressive to see on side buttons, because I feel like you always end up with super mushy side buttons on mice these days. Scroll wheel though, nice tactile response, and also a satisfying click in. And then finally you have your huge DPI button down below, which literally says DPI on it, which is of course gonna allow you to cycle between your preset stages. Taking a look at the bottom of the mouse, you do get PTFE feet, but you'll notice the difference with the core. It has black skates on it versus like the kind of clearish, grayish ones that you see on the Burst Pro. And the reason of that is just because they're not 100% PTFE like we have, or they call it virgin PTFE. They call it different things. Basically what the difference is that one doesn't have any additives, and when they're different colored or black like this, that just means there's additives to it, so they're not quite as smooth as the 100% PTFE. But for me personally, still give me nice, smooth, consistent glide, and not that big of a difference going from this to those 100% PTFE feet. As far as sensor goes, you do get a little bit worse sensor in this with the Burst Core using the PMW 3331, having a DPI adjustment up to 8,500 versus the Burst Pro, which is using the 3389 with a DPI range up to 16K. And even though, yeah, the Burst Pro is using a better sensor, for me, the average like Joe, above average gamer, I can't tell a difference between like nice optical sensor to nice optical sensor. Maybe you guys can, but I feel like most of people in the world are not going to be able to tell the difference going from this sensor to the other sensor. It's going to be more of the physical things like, you know, a rubber cord, having different skates that you're going to be able to tell. As far as the sensor goes, been super spot on for me, and as far as a difference, I can't tell. Overall, I think the Burst Core is just an absolute steal for $30. I mean, the competition in that price range, there's not much. There's basically, the only thing I can think of that's a really nice mouse as well is the SteelSeries Rival 3 wired, and this definitely gives it a run for its money with a different shape, of course. So if you're someone that wants to pick this up, I would definitely recommend it. Of course, if you want to spend the extra $30, I would say it's definitely worth it with the Burst Pro because you're getting upgraded features. You know, you're getting better skates, a better cable, as well as the RGB shine through in the back, as well as replacement skates in the box. And those are going to be the main differences there. Obviously, half the price for this going to change some people's opinions whether you want to spend that or not. And if you really wanted to, you could even just slap a paracord on this, upgrade that cable, and if you wanted to get some skates, and you could probably still get it for under $60 that this one would run you. Overall though, if you guys want to pick this up for $30, definitely a recommendation for me. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you found it helpful or informative, please hit that like button for me, and do consider subscribing for more content just like this in the very near future, and I'll see you guys in the next one.